And what's up, everybody? This is Danny looking at the Oppo Find 5, and today I'm going to bring you the full review. And this is available on the Oppo website for $499 for the 16GB version, and the 32GB version is $569. It has no SD card slot, sorry guys, but it comes with a unlocked pentaband radio, and it comes with a steel frame construction, polycarbonate plastic on the back, and it is also blessed with a beautiful 5-inch screen 1080p display. Now, can this thing compete with the flagships that are coming up like the Galaxy S4 and the newly released Sony Xperia Z? Well, we'll find out in this full review. Now, when you pick up this device, there's one thing that you will not be able to deny, and this is the quality of the build on the Oppo Find 5. And with the steel frame construction, with the polycarbonate plastic, it really feels heavy and hefty in the hand. It just feels so solid in the hand, and it's got a subtle curve back to it. It fits in the hand just right, and you will see the little subtle curves right below the capacitive buttons, and the way that the glass floats down a little bit on the side, it does really remind you of the HTC One X. Even the way that the 13 megapixel camera sits on that chrome ring, it just looked really, really good. The capacitive buttons and the physical buttons feel really, really good on this device. And even the speaker on the front and the front-facing camera, the way the glass just shines on there, looks like a mini TV. That's probably the best way I can really describe this thing. The back speakers are machine drilled like the HTC One X, and they sound fantastic. Very, very loud rear speaker. I think Oppo really has a hit on their hands with this device on design and build quality, and almost every reviewer that have picked this up or users have really commented on the device, on its build quality, and I just wanted to make that known that if you like build quality, you'll have no problems with this phone whatsoever, and you will appreciate the design elements. The one downside to it is that the glass is not curved on the edges, so it's very sharp to me on the top, and the size of the phone is really not a problem, but where the earpiece is, when you stick this to your face, I think it's a little bit uncomfortable to talk on the phone for long periods of time because it's very square on the top and it can kind of dig into your ear a little bit. That's the only flaw that I see with that glass construction. The Oppo Find 5 comes with a beautiful, gorgeous 5-inch display. This 1080p display is one of the best displays on the market today. And I've tested a lot of phones, and the color replication is great. The blacks are super inky. It looks really, really nice. And I don't think it translates to camera as well as it should. You can see how nice the colors look. It's very vibrant. It just pops right off the screen, and is definitely comparable to the 1080p displays out there. I think it's even better than the Xperia Z. And even if you're looking at stock photos or you're looking at photos you've taken with the 13 megapixel camera, it really, really looks good. It's definitely good for sharing, and I definitely recommend this display. You will not be disappointed with it at all. If you're an avid reader, I think you'll really like this screen as well. And I do a lot of web browsing on my mobile devices, and this is just really fantastic. The text is really crisp, and it's really hard to distinguish any kind of pixels on this display. And the text is really black. Like I said, the contrast levels are really good, and I think you won't be disappointed at all with this display. What's great about this display is that there are no on-screen buttons, and they are capacitive buttons, but you can barely see them. Now, this is different than the prototype version that they had before, and you can see that it does subtly come on. If you look, there are menu, home, and back buttons on there, and it's pretty cool, and they work very, very well, but they're just kind of hard to see in the daylight. But if you're indoors, like as here, you can really, really see the capacitive buttons. Very, very cool, but I love it because when they go off, it's got an awesome stealth effect and everything just looks black. Alright, the hardware is fantastic, but let's go ahead and move on to the software. And this is Android 4.1, but it is skinned by Oppo. And you can see here, this has a MIUI type of look to it. It kind of looks cartoony. It looks a little bit like the iPhone icons that were of the past or as of now. They're kind of square, but you can see that the launcher works pretty good. And it does have some custom skin on it, which I really like too. It's got some good functionality in it, but some people will not like this skin at all because, I mean, Android really does not look like this most of the time. Either you will love it or you won't like it. But I think that the actual stock launcher is pretty decent. And if you pull down, you can see that you have a different kind of notification shade. It's gray, but it does have the toggles on the top, which is nice, like some of the leading manufacturers out there. Shortcut to the settings, and you can see that I really like how they separated everything, like general, and you can see that all your regular stuff is here, NFC, Wi-Fi, app storage, all that stuff's on there. Then you can go right to the sound, and that's separated for your ringtones and notification tones, and display and your brightness, sleep, all that stuff, auto rotate, and right to your personal and all your accounts. So I really like how they separated all that. Very cool for organization. And you can see that they have had some custom stuff here, like their calendar. It works pretty good, but it kind of looks like the Samsung calendar a little bit. And if you look at the email, it works pretty good as well. I prefer just Gmail by itself, but this also works pretty good and it has some extra functionality in it. But you can choose to use this or just regular Gmail. And I really like this too as well. When you plug it in to charge it, it's pretty cool. It's got a little blue glowing effect to it. Pretty cool touches on the UI there, and I really appreciate that. It has nothing to do with functionality, but it's just cool looking. So I thought I would put that in the video. And with regular videos that you've taken or watching movies, if you go into the settings, which I think is pretty cool that they've added in, is you can get Dolby sound, and then you can also get different bass functions, treble functions, and you can do a little bit of an equalizer preset, which is pretty cool because you don't really get that in a lot of Android phones today. And just like some of the leading manufacturers here too, you can just kind of do multitasking on video, which is cool, and you can do whatever you want, and then you can move that around, or you can go right back to the video. So it's kind of like what's out on the Samsung Galaxy S3 and the Galaxy S4, that little pop-up browser or pop-up video. And that's pretty cool that they included this. The music player also tries to bring something new. As you can see, there's a set as ringtone option there. And you can see that there's Dolby Mobile. And you can see there's different bass, treble, and equalizer functions on the music player. So that's pretty cool that they added a few things to the regular stock things that you would get on other Android phones. And if you power off, you can see there's also quick toggles there too. And right there, you can just go right to the widgets. All you have to do is hold on the screen, and you get widgets and wallpapers. You get a pretty cool quick cut there. It looks fairly similar to the Xperia Z's interface, where you can go right to the wallpaper or widgets. And if you hit the wallpaper, which I really like, it goes live and you can see it before you go back into the home screen. The stock launcher is okay, but it does have some lags and hiccups here and there. Like here, you can hold it down and it takes about a second or two for it to come up. But what I found to be the best use for me is Nova Launcher. And this is a separate launcher that you can get on the Google Play Store. And I really like the way it looks on this phone, because there's a lot of things that you can do with this. And all you have to do is select Nova Launcher and set it as your launcher, and just hold it down and flick away the regular launcher that's on there. And what that gives you is a lot more stock Android look on the outside and the zippiness of it, since you can kind of change your animations and different things to make it feel much faster. And to be honest, this is the way that I've been using my Oppo Find 5 for the last 3 weeks, is that I love the look of stock Android, and it just looks really good on this screen. And you get to keep a lot of the UI optimizations that they've kept or they've been working on for the Oppo Find 5, like this multitasking launcher here, which looks a lot like WebOS and looks great. You can just flick away that stuff, and there's a one button kill all, which is very nice. And your notification shade stays the same, and so it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You can get a great experience with Nova Launcher. I mean, you can keep the stock launcher as well, for I think a lot of people enjoy that. But I am a stock Android fan, and I think this is the best of both worlds. And I think you will love the Oppo Find 5 with Nova Launcher and their custom UI optimizations. So the stock browser, let's talk about that. The stock browser is Chrome. And I like to use Chrome Beta because I think it kind of stays ahead of the build. You can just use regular Chrome. I find that Chrome Beta actually performs better on the Oppo Find 5 for me. And you can see here that there is no other browser on this but Chrome. So that's the only browser you can get. I mean, you can get third-party browsers, but this is the stock browser that comes with it. And I think that's just a Chrome issue where you find a few hiccups here and there with the pinch to zoom. But once actually the page is loaded, it runs really, really well, as you can see. The scrolling is pretty smooth afterwards. And I think you will really love web browsing on the screen. Once again, I cannot stress enough how good this screen is. You will love web browsing on here. And it definitely keeps up with the rest of the pack when it comes to SunSpider and other benchmarks. So let's talk about the most important thing on any phone that's out there, which is call quality. And while I'm showing you the speedtest.net results here, I'm going to tell you that it ran definitely better on T-Mobile HSPA Plus for me. Now, this has a pentaband radio which supports AT&T in the US 3G and T-Mobile USA 3G, which is great. So it's unlocked, throw in your SIM card, and it's going to work. But it definitely performed better for me on T-Mobile. I got faster speeds, as you can see here, download speed 6. I got anywhere between 6 to 10 megabits per second down and 1 to 1.5 up. But on AT&T, I've gotten 3 or 4 at best. So I'm definitely getting better speeds here. Now, the call quality is good. It's not the clearest speaker I've ever heard, but man, the earpiece is really loud, which I love. And there's a lot of phones out there that the ear speaker is really, really weak, and this is not it. And the speakerphone also sounds fantastic as well. It's very, very loud, and I don't think you'll be disappointed with the call quality at all on this phone. And I really like the speaker on how loud it is. That's one of my biggest gripes on a lot of phones. Depends on your network coverage where you live. If you have better T-Mobile coverage, then I would recommend T-Mobile HSPA Plus for your Oppo Find 5. Now, a lot of people were wondering if there is a signal issue with the Oppo Find 5. And there is some antenna gate that is happening here. I know that a lot of people were talking about it. And as you can hear me talking, if you do put your hands on the bottom where the antenna is, you can see signal loss happening right now, and you can see by the signal strength indicator that it is dropping. So I've never had a problem with it actually dropping an entire call, but I've had some problems where I was holding it this way, talking on the phone, and it would get a little bit gargly. And then if you just kind of hold it a different way, you can see, watch the signal just come right back up again. And it's kind of like how the iPhone 4 was at first. And I've noticed it on T-Mobile and AT&T. It happens on both. But a simple case can fix that without a problem. I've never had it actually drop a call on me at this point, so I don't think it's really a huge deal. But data speeds do take a hit on it. So I wanted you to be aware of this. I don't think it's a deal breaker whatsoever. And I wouldn't say, oh, don't buy this phone because of this problem. But you can see right here, as evidenced by me doing it on the T-Mobile network, you can see that the signal loss is evident on this. So there is a type of antenna gate that is happening with this, and you can see how the signal goes right back up after I take my palm off the bottom part of the phone. So just be aware that this is present on the Oppo Find 5. So let's talk about gaming on this device. And this is being powered by a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon S4 Pro chipset with the Adreno 320 graphics. So this has got the same internals as a Nexus 4 does, and it runs really well. And let's take out a game like Raven Sword, which is pretty heavily graphics driven here. And you can see it looks really good on that 1080p display. And the controls are really, really good, and the frame rates are really smooth. And you can see here that it is playing without a problem whatsoever. And I think that you will not have problems playing the latest games on this. It has one of the better graphics chips out there. So you will definitely love gaming on this 1080p display. So let's check out another graphics intensive game like The Conduit, and you can see here that it looks really good. The frame rates are pretty smooth and it's pretty fantastic. And the only thing is, I think you'll see with the Oppo Find 5 sometimes is compatibility issues. with some of the games and it might stutter a little bit, but for the most part, most games play very, very well. And it has nothing to do with the Adreno graphics set. I think it really has to do with some compatibility issues here and there. But definitely the way to go is a Bluetooth controller like the Moga here, and it works fantastic with the conduit. And paired with the Oppo Find 5, you have console quality type graphics here, and it works fantastic. I recommend a Bluetooth controller. And even games here like Vector run really, really well. Not as graphically intensive here, but you know that it can run pretty much any kind of game that's out there. And once again, I definitely recommend this for gaming, and I don't think you'll have any problem. It runs the same chipset as some of the leading manufacturers out there. It's not the Snapdragon 600, but it definitely runs good enough. And I don't think you'll have any problems running modern games on it whatsoever. Now, the 13 megapixel camera is fantastic. Make sure you watch my separate video of the sample videos and images. It can record 1080p HDR video live. It's really, really good. I think overall the camera is fantastic with sharp images and good 1080p video. So check that video out for sure. Now, let's go ahead and hit something that's very, very important, and that is battery life. The Oppo Find 5 features a 2500 milliamp battery that is not removable, and a lot of people will definitely hate that, but with design like this, it's hard to get a removable back. But I found that it is definitely good for a day's worth of battery. And you can see here it says 18 hours and 52 minutes, but it definitely does not last that long. But I found myself definitely within a 10-hour period of moderate use that it was okay for me. This is about halfway through the day here, and I'm about on 50%, and that's about usual for me. For usually right around 10 o'clock is when it needs to be charged on moderate use. And I think that is comparable to most flagship phones that are out there, that if a battery lasts about 10 hours throughout the day with moderate use, it's good. Now, I love this screen so much that I keep it on high, and maybe that will bring my battery life much, much lower. But if you can put down the brightness, then you can definitely last throughout a day without a problem whatsoever. I also think it has a lot to do with it not including LTE. For LTE is more of a battery drainer than anything else, and since this just supports HSPA+, that it will give you a little bit better battery life. But in the end, I think that this battery is definitely passable. So in conclusion, I think that this is a phone that you should definitely give a look at when you're purchasing your next phone, because even though that this is not a flagship that you would recognize, such as a Samsung or a Sony, I think it has a lot of qualities of a flagship phone. It has a gorgeous 5-inch 1080p display. It's got a good 13 megapixel camera. It's got amazing build quality, and it's got pretty good call quality. And it's fairly cheap at $499 unlocked for an HSPA+ pentaband radio. So I would definitely give this a try or give it consideration when you're buying your next phone. And even though that they're not known in the market for being a cell phone manufacturer, I think they really made a splash with this Oppo Find 5. So I have no problem recommending this phone if you don't care for the LTE and expandable storage. So please subscribe to my channel and watch my other videos, and please watch my Oppo Find 5 versus Xperia Z video. I think you'll be surprised at the outcome, and I will see you in the next video, and thank you for watching.